Hello. The video you've just been watching was a dramatisation by a group of drama students and their teacher of a nightmare vividly described to me by a 17-year-old student who was about to sit his final examinations. Exams on whose outcomes would determine whether or not he could achieve his lifetime ambition of becoming a doctor, of going to medical school. In this dream, he arrived late for the exam and on arrival found the doors to the examination room had been locked against him. He finally managed to open them and was directed to his desk by the teacher, only to find the student next to him had been transformed into a skeleton, scrawling his answers slowly and painfully with a bony hand. As the nightmare continued, the teacher invigilating suddenly turned into a grotesque holocomic type judge who was pointing accusingly at him. As she did so, the pencil with which he was writing suddenly turned into elastic and it wouldn't write at all. But even so, his answers, which were being put down, became harder and harder to read and decipher. Suddenly the room rocked violently and piles of papers on the desk before him began to wobble alarmingly as he tried to restrain them. At that point he woke up. Now, what made this nightmare especially memorable for him was that he was awake when he was dreaming. He knew he was dreaming, he knew it was all a dream, but he was unable, unlike in many other lucid dreams, to exert any control over what was happening to him. So, what exactly is a lucid dream? The term was first coined by Frederick van Eden in 1913, and it describes a dream in which you become increasingly aware that you are dreaming. What's more, in many such lucid dreams, you as the dreamer are able to control what is going on and even to make things happen. Imagine, for example, you have a dream of walking near the sea, you're walking at a seaside resort, across the lawns, and suddenly you start to run and suddenly you realise you can fly. Now you realise you're in a lucid dream, so you fly higher and higher and then decide to hover so you can admire the view, the lovely scenery below, the sea and the greenery. Then you continue your journey, abruptly turning in the opposite direction to fly back where you came from, before gently deciding to return to Earth. Now, every moment of this enjoyable lucid dream enables you to feel in complete control over what is happening. You are in charge of the dream. However, one thing which research strongly suggests you'll never be able to do in a lucid dream is imagine you're walking into a pitch black room and switching on the light. If you ever do attempt this, be prepared to wake up instantly. Surprisingly, you can, if you want, switch on a torch or even light a candle in your dream and slowly and gradually inspect the details of surroundings. Now, why should this happen? Well, the reason seems to be that your brain lacks the computing power instantly to create a complex scene around you. But by separating into smaller scenes, as when you turn on a torch, for example, or light a candle, the brain has sufficient time to complete the task of creating that fragment of the scenery. So, have you ever had a lucid dream? Well, studies suggest that around about 55% of us, just over half, enjoy them, at least very occasionally. And if you're interested in lucid dreaming, the good news is that you can learn how to increase both the frequency and the duration of those dreams. And the more often you have a lucid dream, the more likely you are to have another one, and the longer each dream will last. The world's greatest expert on lucid dreaming is Dr. Stephen LaBerge of Stanford University, who runs the Lucidity Institute, which is well worth looking up online. He has 30 years personal and professional experience of lucid dreaming and has been at the forefront of researching them right from the start, and he has developed ways of inducing these lucid dreams and then stabilizing them so you have conscious control over them. In this short video, I want to explain just that, how to increase your chances of enjoying a lucid dream, and how to exert greater control over these dreams if and when you have them. But first, let's take a closer look at the whole process of sleep itself. As this diagram shows, this is known as a hypnogram, as it shows, we sleep in stages, with deep dreamless sleeps in stage 4, and the period between being awake and drifting into light stage 1 sleep being the stage on which our dreams are acted out. When dreaming, our eyes move rapidly behind the eyelids, and this has led to the period in which we dream being called REM, or rapid eyeball movement sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep. As shown here, during REM sleep, the dreams are typically separated by short periods of wakening or very light sleep, and in these cases often quickly forgotten. So my first step for experiencing more lucid dreams is to start remembering your dreams more clearly. Here's how I suggest you do it. When you wake up and start a new day, try to remain motionless. Try not to change your position for a minute or two, and turn your mind to your last dream of the night, or indeed any other dreams you can recall before that. And you should try and do this before competing thoughts such as, well, what am I going to have to do today? What work do I have to do? Everything you're going to be doing. These thoughts overwhelm at nighttime memories and drown them out. If it's at all possible, I suggest you briefly note down the content of your dream, either by scribbling it down or by making an audio recording, since doing both these things will improve your ability to remember your dreams. You need to remember at least one dream per night before you embark on trying to induce your lucid dreams, using the technique I'll be outlining in a moment. My second tip is to try and sleep for as long as you can, up to 8 hours if possible. For some people this is certainly easier said than done, and if you're among them who suffers from insomnia, I suggest you watch, if you haven't already done so, the excellent post on this site about overcoming insomnia, which was posted by my hypnotherapist colleague Dan Jones. We experience one period of dreaming about every 90 minutes, so the more time you have during the night which is available for dreaming, the more frequently your dreams are likely to occur, and the longer they'll last. The first dream of the night is usually the shortest. It lasts around 10 minutes. And the last dream you have, usually after about 7 hours, tends to be the longest dream, which can last up to an hour, up to 60 minutes. Let me now turn to methods for inducing lucid dreams at will. In 1980, Dr. Stephen LaBerge developed a method based on what psychologists term prospective memory to induce these dreams. This he called MILD, M-I-L-D. It means setting yourself a firm intention in your memory to do something later on, anything, but of course when you want to increase lucid dreams, this simply means instructing yourself firmly, planting in your memory the idea that before you go to sleep, you will remember that you are going to dream. Now, this may sound very easy, but Dr. LaBerge reports good results from what appears to be a fairly straightforward strategy, and I too have found it works very well and greatly increases my experience of lucid dreams. I just tell myself before I go to sleep, you're going to have a lucid dream. Now, what about making those lucid dreams last longer? As one researcher noted, nothing is more frustrating than to invest hours or weeks of research and effort into aiming at the goal of having a lucid dream, and then to wake up within seconds of becoming lucid. One of the easiest ways of stabilizing a lucid dream was discovered in 1938 by the German medical doctor Harold von Boers-Mesmer. He suggested that to sustain a lucid dream, all one had to do was look intently down at the ground. That may sound simple again, but it works very well. Clinical psychologist G. Scott Sparrow, who wrote a graphic account of his own lucid dream experiences, described how he used this same stabilizing strategy in order to vividly recall one of his own lucid dreams. Here's what he wrote about it. He said, "It's night, and as I look up at the sky, I am astounded by the clarity of the stars. They seem so close. At this point, I become lucid. The dream shakes momentarily. Immediately, I look down at the ground and concentrate on solidifying the image in order to remain in that dreamscape. I then realize that if I turn my attention to the pole star above my head, the dream will stabilize still further. I do this until gradually the clarity of the stars returns in all their fullness." So I suggest you experiment with lucid dreams. It's a great way to pass the night restfully and enjoyably, and it offers you one of the easiest and most intriguing ways of exploring the fascinating world of altered states of consciousness. By training yourself in the art of entering an altered state of consciousness, you'll find it becomes possible to travel anywhere in the world and to any period of time, the past, the present, the future. If you exercise your imagination in this way, as well as your body, you'll be amazed how powerful and life-expanding both will become. If you have any questions about anything I've written, spoken of in these 6 videos, do please get in touch via this website and I'll do my best to answer your questions. If you have experienced lucid dreams or do experience on a regular basis and would like to describe it to others, especially if you've developed any special techniques for inducing or stabilizing or controlling these dreams, then I would be most interested in hearing about them for my research. I do hope you found this series of 6 videos on how to develop, utilize and benefit from altered states of consciousness interesting and helpful, and that will lead you to take further research steps and also to enjoy a more exciting life, especially perhaps at this time of lockdown. In my next series of videos, I'll be discussing ways to help your child through school. The widespread upheavals and disruptions in education caused by COVID have profoundly affected not only children's levels of stress, anxiety and motivation, but on their ability to acquire the knowledge and skills essential for their progress through life. During the 80s and 90s, I undertook extensive research into the psychology of thinking more efficiently and managing the inevitable problems and setbacks experienced by students of all ages, from the primary years to university study, ways of improving the emotional status they find themselves in. I wrote several books on the subject, including Thinking Better, Know Your Own Mind, Mind Skills, You Can Teach Your Child Intelligence, Helping Your Anxious Child, and Helping Your Child Through School. For Macmillan Education, I wrote a home-based self-help course for parents who want to enhance their child's capacity, not just for staying at the head of the race, but actually surging ahead of the race. I also produced a DVD and video download entitled Pass That Exam, and many of the techniques I'm going to describe in these videos can be found on that DVD. At the time, this DVD was being used by about 150-200 schools around the world. In it, I provide practical techniques for learning and memory and recall, as well as considering the emotional side of learning in terms of those points I mentioned earlier, anxiety, motivation and self-image, as well as looking at the practical skills necessary for efficient general studies, such as reading and basic arithmetic. In the first of this new series, I'm going to explain how you can create a powerful learning machine from nothing more complicated or costly than a sheet of cardboard. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. I look forward very much to meeting you all again in about a fortnight's time. Please do subscribe if you want to be sure not to miss any of our mind-changing videos. And if you like what you see, do please tick the appropriate icon below. Meanwhile, thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope all goes well for you in the next fortnight, and I look forward to seeing you again in a short time. Bye for now.